Hello, and welcome to FYI number 2, the video series where I make videos about stories that are somewhat important to me and also have to do with the Colorado Springs area. In this one, we're talking about Garden of the Gods. Check that out. So this is the view coming into Garden of the Gods from the north side. Garden of the Gods is a pretty interesting place because it has been internationally known as like a mighty fine scenic location since the 1800s, but has managed not to become a national park at any point during that time. It's, I guess, too small to be a national park. It really is just city park sized, but you can drive through it, and I think it's a state park now, which is super nice. But yeah, you just essentially, you drive on through, you can hike around, you can get a permit to rock climb. You cannot fly drones anywhere near it. Not that that has stopped me. But yeah, it's a really, really beautiful place. Check this out. Especially today, the clouds are just awesome. So these huge rocks are actually the result of a sandstone formation that runs all along the Rockies and only pops up in some places, like Chautauqua in Boulder, Perry Park in between Denver and Colorado Springs, and here in Garden of the Gods are all the result of the same formation that runs in front of the Front Range and just sort of has these rocks that stick out of the ground and look beautiful. That's what's up here. Garden of the Gods has had a long history of like private ownership and then being sold to public land and some more private ownership and then private industry and then being sold to public land again. It's been a wild ride, and it's been a really, really popular tourist location ever since like cars were invented and you can drive through it.
So when your father and I came to town in the middle 80s, 1985, there was a little tiny pavilion over in the middle of Garden of the Gods that was the visitor center, and it kind of blended in with the rocks. It was very tiny, and in the time that we were here, those first 5 years, they began building the new visitor center.
Yeah, the big one back there.
Yeah, the big one. And then there's another little
trading post
that's...
It's been there the whole time?
It's been there as far as I remember, as long as certainly from the 1985 standpoint.
Cool. After you pass the first parking lot, you come around this ridiculous set of turns, and then you end up here with this incredible view overlooking the park and exactly room for 3 cars to turn off, which is not enough. But it is so pretty. Just gorgeous. This is probably one of the more famous views in the world. And it is right here, 5 minutes from where I went to high school. It's crazy. We used to have picnics here and like just hang out after school, go hike on some rocks. Again, probably stuff you're not supposed to do. The rules have tightened up a lot in the last couple of years because it's gotten even more popular. But when I went to high school, there weren't a ton of like rules. You could go wherever you wanted. It was cool. That makes me sound old. The main activity here, once you're done seeing really beautiful rocks, not that you're ever really done, the views kind of go on forever, is to get fudge and hot chocolate at the trading post. And then also look at all the silly little tourist trinkets they have. If you need a Colorado tourist trinket, this is the place to get it. Then once you have your knickknacks, you're good to go. You can go back out and look at more rocks. And that is the Garden of the Gods experience. Make sure if you're ever in Colorado Springs not to miss it. I met a guy last week who drove, not last week, like last month. I was flying my drone around in Monument and he was like just there by one of the lakes that no one needs to see. It's not that pretty. He had driven from like Louisiana and he was like, yeah, we're just driving through. Wanted to see some pretty stuff while we're here. I was like, have you guys been to Garden of the Gods? You're just at a lake in Monument? Like, what are you doing? And he was like, no, we heard that's a ways out of the way. And I was like, it's 5 minutes off the interstate. What are you doing? So I sent them down there with instructions to go to Garden of the Gods, and they did. They got to fly around Manitou, and they apparently saw the drone signs and didn't fly around Garden of the Gods, which is good. But like, how can you not see this if you come to visit? Like, don't be silly. You have to see this. You have to. It's beautiful. You could spend, you wouldn't be allowed to spend 2 days here, but you could spend 2 days here. You shouldn't camp. Don't do it. That's all I know about Garden of the Gods. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Also, I'm sure you'll figure this out on your own, but come here to the Balancing Rock and make sure to take a cheesy picture holding it up. That's like really the only thing to do in Colorado Springs. That's all I do. When I'm looking for a fun time out with friends, I'm like, you want to go to Balancing Rock and take one of those holding it up pictures? And they're like, yeah, let's do it. That's awesome. We don't have any movie theaters, no bowling alleys. That's really, really genuinely the only thing there is to do.